Hello and welcome this Friday night Niall Fraser show. Absolutely killing the shows now. Absolutely killing it. Tonight I've got an incredible show lined up for you this evening. Absolutely chock of the block. It's packed to the rafters. It's got so much information. So much. We're going to go through full-blown John, full-blown John. We've got Andrew Bridgen making some extraordinary claims, and then we've got a stopover at Auschwitz. But first, the best part of the show, the intro music. Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the Niall Fraser Show. Coming to you live Monday, Wednesday, and now Fridays, 9 p.m. Mark the date. You'll know what I watch anything else. I swear to you, what a show I've got for you lined up this evening. First, we're going to go through full-on John. Filled his long johns, John. What's this guy on? Our First Minister is having a comedic failure right in front of our eyes. What is going on? Then we're going to go. I mean, Andrew Bridgen is just putting out some incredible videos now. He was on Alex Jones earlier today, and what he's saying there is quite extraordinary. So we've got the clip, we've got We're going to be delving right into that. And then we've got, I mean, this weird quandary of why are the worst politicians in the world, the worst end up having a brief stopover at Auschwitz to get a photo op. We'll be delving into that. But first, our first story of the day. We've now got full on John. And I must say, we're not even over 100 viewers, guys. Get the broadcast shared. This isn't amateur hour here. Get the broadcast shares. Get the comments in. We're on YouTube again tonight. Don't neglect YouTube if you want to watch on. You want to cast it to your telly, whatever you want to do. YouTube is quite easy today. So I mean, we'll go into it. But what I really think John Swinney is doing here is he is trying to escape his nickname. His banana and Nutella nickname. Let's not forget that John Swinney, our First Minister, our esteemed First Minister, the most official person in Scotland, defended this image used in Scottish schools to describe anal sex. He defended this image being used across classrooms in Scotland to describe anal sex, a banana being dipped in Nutella. This is what the school kids in Scotland are learning. And this is what they should be learning, according to John Swinney. And of course, the meme that I created, let's get that wee banner out of the way so you can see it. Oh, there's Butte House, and there's a new banana stand outside. Banana stand, a wee Arrested Development throwback there. Tell me in the comments if you've ever seen that show. I think it's quite good. Some would disagree. Anyway, Banana and Nutella John is desperate to cast aside this nickname that has been given. It's like the playground, the playground person who gets a nickname put on him, doesn't like it, tries to come up with a new nickname. I used to know a guy called Baby Teeth because his teeth were really small, and he really didn't like that name, but he kept plugging away and plugging away and plugging away. And eventually he got a new nickname. Anyway, we've got the clip of Banana and Nutella John. We might have to play it a few times just to dissect what he's saying here. He looks like he's drunk in this. He sounds like he's drunk.
Do you not accept that you'll have failed as First Minister, particularly if you're in office until 2031, like you hope, if those legally binding targets are missed?
Well, let me have a good go at it, Connor. And, you've got full-on John Swinney just now, and I'm going to do...
Is this what full-on John Swinney
This is what, believe you me, this is full-on John Swinney. And, frankly, like John Swinney's never been before. Mm-hmm. So it is full-on.
It is full-on. He's got a full-blown John. What is actually happening here? What is actually happening there? I mean, what is going on? Is he having a bit to drink in Holyrood? Has he went totally off the rails? Has he lost his mind? Let's watch it again. We've got full-blown John here. Full-blown, full-on, filled his long John's John.
Do you not accept that you'll have failed as First Minister, particularly if you're in office until 2031, like you hope, if those legally binding targets are missed?
Well, let me have a good go at it, Connor. And, you've got full-on John Swinney just now, and I'm going to do...
Is this what full-on John Swinney...
This is what, believe you me, this is full-on John Swinney. And, frankly, like John Swinney's never been before. Mm-hmm. So it is full-on.
It's full on. It's not a semi-John. It's not a flaccid John. This is a full-on John. Full-on John. There's no escaping the full-on John. So let's read about what the Sun is saying. We've got full-on John. Full-on John. Exclusive by Connor Matchett, who is actually a decent journalist, although he does work for the Sun. John Swinney yesterday dubbed himself full-on John and pledged to return the SNP to government in 2026 by fixing Scotland's ailing public services. The First Minister, a top SNP cabinet figure for nearly 2 decades. 2 decades. Told the Scottish Sun, this is full-on John. Full-on John Swinney. And frankly, like John Swinney has never been before. So not only is he trying to escape his nickname, he's talking about himself in the third person as if he's a mythological figure here. What is going on? He must have been drinking here, guys. You tell me in the comments, does this sound like he's...
Do you not accept that you'll have failed as First Minister, particularly if you're in office until 2031, like you hope, if those legally binding targets are missed?
Well, let me have a good go at it, Connor. And, you've got full-on John Swinney just now, and I'm going to do...
Is this what full-on John Swinney
This is what, believe you me, this is full-on John Swinney, and frankly, like John Swinney's never been before. So it is full-on.
Jesus, I think I just got... I shivered in my spine there watching that. I don't feel very well watching that. Full-on John sounds like an illness. Like some, don't go in the toilet. I've left a full-on John in there. Well, I mean, it doesn't sound right, doesn't it? It doesn't sound great at all. It doesn't sound great. So let's turn to page 4 and 5 to see exactly what our man is saying. Swinney, what does that say? I've matured like good wine. Rejuvenated FM's vow after backbench stint. Wasn't ready when he led the SNP 25 years ago, quarter of a century ago. He wasn't ready, but he's ready now because we've got full-on John. I mean, how long's this guy been in charge? And how long has he not been full-on John? What have we been getting before? What have we been getting before? Have we been getting a semi-John? Seriously, he's the First Minister of Scotland, guys. He's talking like this. It is absolutely brutal. John Swinney yesterday told how he matured like good wine as he vowed to defy the critics of his track record and joked about claims he's a Holyrood heartthrob. This just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? Worse and worse. The First Minister also insisted Scotland is in a better place after almost 18 years of SNP rule. Well, that is just a flat-out lie. Flat-out lie. And refused to admit any mistakes during his long spell at the top of politics. Speaking at the Scottish Sun's politics show CMQs in his parliamentary office in Edinburgh, the SNP veteran, previously party leader from 2000 to 2004, pledged this time he would lead them through to the end of the decade. So we're talking 2030. He envisages himself being there. Oh no, what an absolute diabolical situation Scotland has gotten itself in, because now we've got full-blown John at the helm. His promise comes despite all but retiring when he quit the government alongside First Minister Nicola Sturgeon 2 years ago. So again, he's quit and retired, but now he's the First Minister because nobody else wanted. Oh, somebody had to step in after Humza useless. Got his grubby hands on the steering wheel. Mr. Swinney said, I had a year in a different space without the pressures of frontline politics. It's completely, utterly rejuvenated me. He was urged last April to step in by party colleagues amid an internal crisis after spending a year on the backbenches as part of what he now calls a sabbatical. They just treat Holyrood like a total joke, don't they? They treat Holyrood like a total holiday camp. It's more like a school for miscreants. Sabbatical. Supporters urged him to take over as party leader following Humza Yousaf's decision to quit Butte House after collapsing his coalition deal with the Greens. And dire poll ratings this week show how the SNP continues to come under fire from the public over its handling of key frontline services despite a change of leader. But Mr. Swinney vowed he was giving everything to turn around Scotland's struggling public services ahead of the 2026 Holyrood vote. He said, "You've got full-on John Swinney just now. Full-on John Swinney." Believe you me, this is full-on John Swinney, and frankly, like John Swinney has never been before. So it's full-on John. And the SNP leader admitted to the decision to lead his party in 2000 had been the wrong one. He said, "I wasn't ready for it." Asked if he had got better with age, the First Minister, 60 years old, who claimed he was once mistaken for movie superstar Bruce Willis. This guy must have been drinking when he done this. He must have been drinking when he's done this. The guy's on a bender here. He's talking. What? He's a Holyrood heartthrob, and he's a Bruce Willis Stunt double. Come off it, John. Full-blown John. Well, like a good wine, I perhaps have matured. Last May, after he became First Minister, John Swinney was making hearts flutter at Holyrood. Several women staffers and journalists admitted having a crush on the new Nat's big gun, including party press officer. This is all just nonsense, isn't it? I'm briefing the staff. You have to tell people that you actually got a crush on me. That'll be good press for me. What a joke. When you look at John Swinney, it looks like he should have had a career in being an undertaker. It looks like that sort of character. Every time I look at John Swinney, I think he should be walking in front of a hearse. He's a Hollywood heartthrob. Several women staffers, including journalists, admitted having a crush on him. What a joke. Asked yesterday what he thought about the John Swinney nickname. Oh, so there's other nicknames that they're trying to band about. This is, again, it's like a Harry Houdini trying to escape a nickname. I'm just throwing these out there. John Swinney. What a farce. Joked about in the party circles, he said, that reminds me of being described as Scotland's most eligible bachelor in about 2000, actually, when I became SNP leader at the time. I wonder if you had the hair then. And it led to the headline "From Bank Manager to Babe Magnet," which caused great hilarity. Mr. Swinney was first elected as an MP for Tayside North in 1997 before becoming a key figure in the top Alex Salmond and Miss Sturgeon's government between 2007 and 2023. Within weeks of him entering Bute House, the SNP were thumped by Scottish Labour at the general election in July. The Nats lost 39 seats, with many believing he would be the caretaker leader until the inevitable defeat at the next Holyrood election. But as Labour struggled, UK-wide polling suggests Mr. Swinney is likely to lead the SNP to being the largest party in Scottish Parliament after the election and potentially be returned as First Minister. Again, this is purely the Keir Starmer effect. He's got, it must be at single-digit approval ratings at this point. It's Labour have absolutely handed it right back to the SNP. Anis Sarwar was slated to be the next First Minister. That's not going to happen anymore, I don't think. It's not going to happen. And let's hope it doesn't happen. Let's hope. We don't want Anis Sarwar leading Scotland. We don't want John Swinney leading Scotland. We don't want any of these miscreants. We don't want full-blown John leading Scotland. I've come down with the full-blown Johns. Where were we? The survey found half of voters are dissatisfied with SNP ministers' attempts to improve the NHS, while just over 1 in 4, 27%, are content. And Scots are also more likely to be dissatisfied than satisfied with how the SNP are doing with education, living standards, setting the right income tax levels, and supporting economic growth. So that's basically the entire economy. Then, every sort of facet of public services. We're not happy with living standards. We're not happy with the NHS. We're not happy the way we're getting taxed. The roads are falling apart. You've just got a ferry that's now semi-regular after 8 years. 8 years after launching it. Mr. Swinney's biggest headache in recent weeks has been the NHS. Winter pressures and a surge in flu cases have fueled A&E waits amid devastating reports of how Scotland's health service is lagging behind England's in recovering from the pandemic. Again, the pandemic that Nicola Sturgeon was on a podium every day telling people, don't spend any money in any outside places, stay indoors. Stay indoors. We need the economy to collapse. We need it to collapse. And likely, we need inflation to go up. Well, it caused all the inflation that we're seeing now. At First Minister's questions, Mr. Swinney was forced to apologise after a report warned patients are being harmed due to a corridor care crisis. The Royal College of Nursing survey found patients were routinely coming to harm amid a devastating collapse in standards after it was raised by Scottish Labour leader Anis Sarwar and Tory boss Russell Finlay, who blasted the First Minister, allowing scenes of chaos in the NHS. Mr. Swinney offered his apologies and said, I want to apologise to any individual who has had an unsatisfactory experience in the care they have received, and and the congestion within a hospital. You know what? I wouldn't call it an unsatisfactory experience. This is all just political talk, isn't it? This is. I don't think that's full blown John. I think that's him reverting back to just John, semi-John. You know, an unsatisfactory experience. I mean, how would you call it if you're being treated on a gurney in the middle of a hospital corridor? Would you come out and say, "Oh, that experience I had was absolutely unsatisfactory"? No, I don't think you would use those words. I think it was absolutely a joke. The hospitals are failing, guys, and this guy's unsatisfactory. But Mr. Finlay weighed in. This report confirms that hospital overcrowding is at dangerous levels. Waiting lists have also reached record highs under Mr. Swinney's government, rising at 45% from 603,000 people to 863,000 people this year, despite a 2021 NHS recovery plan unveiled when he was a COVID recovery secretary. Pressed on whether that figure would go down, he told the Scottish Sun, "Yes, it will go down. Yes, it will go down. Yes." But despite Mr. Swinney's personal control of the NHS response to winter pressures, the service saw some of the worst A&E waiting times on record over the festive period, piling the pressure on under fire Health Secretary Neil Gray below. Neil Gray, the same guy, the same health minister, who's just taking limos everywhere, who's just taking limos on our expense everywhere. You know what I mean? He's on the John Swinney type bandwagon, trying to be a heartthrob, taking dates about everybody. They're in shagging wagons. What are these people on? Honestly, I think they're so full of themselves. It's crazy. So full of themselves. It's crazy. Aberdeen supporter Mr. Gray faced backlash before Christmas after his admission that he had appeared more as a fan than a minister after taking a government limo to the Dons game at Hampden as a guest of footy officials, just as I was saying. But Mr. Swinney denied he was planning on sacking him. Of course he wasn't. Of course he wasn't. Of course. He said, "Not in the slightest. No, why would we do that? Why would we sack someone who's been taking the piss? Why would we do that? Because we all do that. We don't want to sack people that do that. We want to promote people that do that." Not in the slightest. Why would we do that? It's tough out there, and I'm working really closely with Neil to make sure we've got all the resources and leadership in place to make sure we deliver for the people in Scotland. The veteran Nat, who has been at the heart of successive SNP governments, also insisted voters backing his party at elections showed the public was happy with the state of the country on their watch. No, they aren't. No, they aren't. We're so unsatisfied with Labour running the country. I mean, Keir Starmer played a masterstroke during the general election. The general election, the Holyrood election is quite different. Because in a general election, Scotland can't provide a government unless they're voting for either or the big parties before the advent of reform. But before this, if you weren't voting Labour or Tory, you couldn't possibly provide a government. Why? Because it's always a Labour government or a Tory government. And if you're voting SNP, you can't provide a government. You can't send a government down to Westminster. But this is the difference. Keir Starmer, when he was up here, he said he doesn't want to say, he wants to send a government from Scotland. That was the masterstroke that Keir Starmer played when he was up here. He said, "Look at the fact that when the public have been asked how the SNP have got on in 2011 and 2016 and 2021, the SNP were returned to government when all the issues were played out. And all I want to make sure is we return to government in 2026, defiantly refusing to admit making any mistakes during the 17 years in government." The SNP leader said, "I'm looking forward. Scotland's in a stronger place as a country as a consequence of what the SNP government's done." He added, "I want to build on it. I want to continue to improve Scotland. That's what I'll do." Mr. Swinney also insisted Scotland would vote in another independence referendum soon. Soon. Here we go again with the Nicky Cranky nonsense. Oh, soon. It's coming to you soon. No, isn't it? They just, here we go again. They're winding the carrot up. They're putting the rod out there again for independence. It's gone, guys. It's dead. We've buried it. John Swinney's the undertaker here. He was leading the hearse. It's dead. But again, here comes the tactics again. Here come the Nicola Sturgeon tactics. Oh, we'll have a referendum in 2023, she says. Comes, passes, none harms. Nobody cares. And in fact, we get so many other independence parties firing up. We've got Alba that are so upset, so distraught with how this independence movement was going. They actually had to start another party, headed up by Alex Salmond, rest in peace, who actually managed to get a referendum at one point in time. The only one. So that's the story of the now. And if you can believe it, John Swinney thinks he's a lookalike for Bruce Willis. Maybe right now, when Bruce Willis is going through his illnesses, maybe right now he's a lookalike for Bruce Willis. I don't think he's a Hollywood heartthrob. In fact, I think it's far from it. It looks like Lurch from the Addams Family. And I think if you were to go anywhere near John, you might get full-blown John. That's what I think you might get. You might get full-blown John. So that's the paper. I'll buy it so you don't need to. And guys, not even 200 viewers yet. Come on, share the broadcasts. Share the broadcast, guys. We've got some comments coming in. Will full-on John care to comment on the child trafficking? Well, we'll be bringing that up in the next segment. And what a good segue that is, Alan. Thank you for the comment. Right. So, Andrew Bridgen. Let us remind ourselves of who Andrew Bridgen is. Right, let's see. Let's bring it up. Andrew Bridgen. So Andrew Bridgen was formerly a member of Parliament for the Tories, right? And he was expelled in April 23, having had the whip suspended in January after criticising the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines and claiming that cardiologists told him it constitutes the biggest crime in humanity since the Holocaust. He then joined Reclaim and then left. I tend to agree with him. I tend to agree with Andrew Bridgen there. The COVID-19 vaccine, I know people personally who have had their lives ruined by taking this. And they were all out there en masse. If you don't take the vaccine, you won't be able to work. You shouldn't go outside. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. You'll be safe. It's 100% effective. It's 99% effective. It's 70% effective. In fact, it's not effective. So Andrew Bridgen was actually one of the standouts. Extremely few politicians decided to put their head above the parapet and actually say, and just call bullshit on it. The COVID-19 vaccines was the biggest crime against humanity since the Holocaust. It absolutely was. Absolutely. And he's spot on to say that. But what's he doing now? What is he doing now? Well, he's dropping bombshells is what he's doing. And this leads right on into the child trafficking element of what we're going to be talking about today. So let's watch a small clip of Bridgen, and then we've got another one, which was today on the Alex Jones show, that mentioned Scotland in it, and it wasn't mentioned in a good light. So let's watch the first one first.
There's something wrong in our parliament when I'm attacking a Labour MP who I believe is a paedophile, and I'm getting flack from my own party. There's something wrong.
How many of the MPs would you say in Parliament do you think would be of that?
I've no idea. But we certainly had a bad record round here. I'm thinking about in Leicester. I mean, Jana. Paedophilia it's been rampant in Leicester. I don't. That we had the Lord Jana case. He had been the MP there. Remember?
Yes.
Greville Jana.
Yes.
Died mysteriously of dementia just before his hearing of facts.
And how many other people would there have been connected?
I've passed details of people who are engaged in child trafficking into the UK. Names of all those. They've gone to the government. Nobody wants to act. Nobody wants to act about it.
How big is this?
It's big.
How many?
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
How are they getting them in? Or is that?
I don't. They're flying them into small airports that haven't got fences around them. Lots of them in the UK.
Yeah, lots of small airfields.
Yeah.
You have a little biplane.
I gave the government the names of the people and the name of the company they're laundering the money through, where the children were being taken to have their photographs taken. They thought they were going to go to school. These were for selling them to paedophiles. Nothing. No, it's gone to MI5. It's gone to the National Crime Agency. No one will act. And then when you see the names, you see why.
The names.
The names of people. They are known names.
And so they're taking these children to who knows where, and they're doing who knows what to them.
Well, I'm told that they use them in the sex trade for about 3 years, and then they're worn out, and then they organ harvest them. No one's interested. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about lots of things.
No one's interested. No one wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. So what he's saying there, he went after a Labour MP who he believed to be a paedophile, and his own party were saying, whoa, stop, Andrew, stop right there. You can't call it paedophiles, especially not in Westminster. Absolutely not. That is the wrong thing to do, isn't it? So, Andrew, I mean, just off the back, calling out the biggest crime against humanity, the COVID-19 vaccine. And the lockdowns as well. I would add the lockdowns as well. The lockdowns had a lot of deaths involved in it as well. Deaths of businesses, the death of the economy, the death, the full-blown lockdown of our economy. And a lot of people committed suicide in the lockdown. And the sort of the death of education as well. We've seen schools being shut down, children's education being stunted. They were just giving people grades. They were just giving pupils grades. And it was a postcode lottery. So we ruined everything during the COVID-19 era. And a lot of people didn't want to talk about this, but he had the balls to go there. He had the balls to go there. And I am forever grateful to Andrew Bridgen for doing it. Because when there was no one in Westminster, no one in Parliament standing up for the people who, like me, refused to be vaccinated, refused to shut the business, he was the only one we could look towards and say, you know, he's our man. And boom, he's kicked out of the Tory party. You know, and he's no longer a member of Parliament. That's it. Done. So let's take him off there now. So that's Andrew Bridgen. And what he's saying there is that there are hundreds and hundreds, he's saying, hundreds of MPs, hundreds of people that he knows and alleges to be paedophiles, child traffickers. He hands over all the names, all the information to MI5, the National Crime Agency. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. We've got similar situations that happen here in Scotland. Very similar situations that happen here in Scotland. And I might even go through some of the information that was shared to me. I was asked to pass that information to Charlie Peters. Charlie Peters is a GB News reporter who's doing fantastic work right now involving the grooming gangs. He's going right into the areas and talking to victims, and they're pointing out I was abused in that house, that flat, and he's going after them. So we'll go into that once we hear what Andrew Bridgen has got to say about Scotland. So he's on the Alex Jones show today, dropping even more bombshells. So let's see what he said today on the Alex Jones show. And if you don't tune into Alex Jones, I suggest you do.
Can you elaborate on this more and repeat what you said? The children are coming into the UK through various ways. Some are coming into small airports which don't have a perimeter fence. Some are coming in actually with false paperwork. I believe the false identities are being created in Moldova from Ukraine, and they're coming in with false IDs on normal passenger aircraft, and some are coming in bulk into Scotland and coming into the UK that way.
So I'll just stop the video. We'll watch it again. But he's saying these kids are being trafficked in bulk. They're getting their pictures taken. They're getting their documents sorted in Moldova. They're bringing them in bulk on planes, and they're landing in Scotland, bonny Scotland. Why are they coming here? We must have people in Scotland that know about this, that are using these airfields for these child traffickers. So let's watch the full clip.
Can you elaborate on this more and repeat what you said?
The children are coming into the UK through various ways. Some are coming into small airports which don't have a perimeter fence. Some are coming in actually with false paperwork. I believe the false identities are being created in Moldova from Ukraine, and they're coming in with false IDs on normal passenger aircraft, and some are coming in bulk into Scotland and coming into the UK that way. This is an industrial scale child trafficking to feed the worst people in our society, paedophiles, and there's no way that it can be done without the knowledge of people in very, very high positions of power. And all I'll say is that whenever I tried to raise these issues and get action against it, all you get is pushback. Go back to the police, the people who ignored you to start with when you handed over the evidence. It's just a live, die, repeat moment, and nothing ever happens. And you never get hold of these paedophiles while they're alive. You only get them when they're dead, because dead men tell no tales.
And isn't that the true for the likes of Jimmy Savile, who just goes his whole entire life abusing children, raping children, full-blown, full-on paedophile. And only after he dies do we find out the truth. And how many more people are going to die, and then we're going to find out the truth? How many more? And, you know, it takes me to, I mean, all these, this rush to dissolve borders right across Europe, right across the US, right across the civilized world, the Western world. Why is this push to dissolve the borders? It's to get kids in. What's happening at the American border? They won't even DNA match adults who are bringing kids in. Sometimes they're not even their own kids. They're bringing kids in, and they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are, and they refuse to DNA match them. The Biden administration refused to DNA match these children. Who knows what's happening? It's clearly an organised industrial, like Andrew Bridgen saying, a machine of child trafficking. It's worth more than all the drugs. It's worth more than anything else. This is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the real baddies in Scotland. You know, it takes me again. I'll be reading out some, the segment that was sent to me, because we have our own problems in Scotland. We really do have our own problems in Scotland. And when he's saying people in really high positions must know, well, maybe full-on John knows about this child trafficking industry that is, they're landing planes in Scotland, according to Andrew Bridgen. They're landing planes in Scotland, according to Andrew Bridgen. Well, how come John Swinney, either he knows about it, and if he knows about it, the guy's a criminal, he should be in jail. If he doesn't know about it, he's neglectful. If he doesn't know about it, he is inept. If he doesn't know about it, he shouldn't be in office. But I suspect he does know about it. Full on John. And this is why Nutella and bananas is pushed on our kids, because it makes them easy prey. The LGBT propaganda that is just shoved down the mouths of all the pupils across Scotland. That makes them easy prey. It makes them easy to groom. We're getting into the nitty-gritty, folk. Please do share the broadcast. We started off with a light note. We just went right dark really quickly, and we're just going to get darker before it gets any better. It's just going to get really, really dark. There was a guy that contacted me when I was first running for office. His name was Dave Sharp. And Dave Sharp does organisations for child abuse victims. And again, so annoying. I just keep punching this into you guys. I keep punching it into you that these child abuse victims, when they're done, when they've been used up, a lot of them become the drug addicts of the future. And of course they do. They've been abused sexually. They've been mentally tortured. And of course they end up on the streets. Of course they end up using hardcore drugs. Because, again, we go back to the last show. They've got these ACE scores, adverse child experiences, that these children are attributed. And, you know, most of the people that are injecting drug users have got huge ACE scores, which means they've been abused as children. So in order to solve the drug crisis here in Scotland, we need to eradicate child abuse. Remember Sturgeon when she came into office? She wanted to make Scotland the best place for a child to grow up, even though she's not got any. Well, if she had, she might have a different outlook. John Swinney's not got any kids either. Why do we have these politicians that, and again, I don't want to get personal, but see, when you become a father, your whole life changes, because everything that you do is it's for them. You know what I mean? You owe it to your son or daughter to give them the same experience and or better that you received. You owe it to them. John Swinney owes nobody anything. Sturgeon doesn't owe anybody anything. And all these childless politicians, it's a problem. It really is. It's a problem. So I'm going to read to you what I was sent. And in Scotland, I think it's not as clear cut. It's not as in your face as the grooming gangs in England. The grooming gangs in England was just scandal after scandal, and it was huge, big gangs were involved. Scotland's got a very similar element of it. So let's look at what I was sent. And it was titled "A National Silencing on Children on Child Protection." It's time to investigate all institutions. Now that the grooming and rape gangs have been exposed nationally, it's perhaps time to open the doors and look at the lack of care and child protection all over our cities in the UK. Key figures involved seem to be failing our young people, and we should be seeking the difference between incompetence and collusion and cover-ups. The link between political figures, social services, police and the judiciary all need a fine-tooth comb and reviewed to understand why all these children have been failed and the perpetrators being favoured over victims whose lives are devastated. The issues that are in Scotland. We should perhaps start with the constituency of former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. If you know it, you know it. Govan Hill. I've walked about, I've had the extreme dissatisfaction of walking around Govan Hill, and what an utter state it is. I'll see if I can find the video that I done, but I went there on Easter Sunday to shoot a video, but the night before, on the Saturday night, I went to find it and scoped the area, and I was just walking a bit on my own, and I was looking at areas where I suspected that people would be shooting up that night. And then the next day, I go to these exact same areas, and what do I find? Half a dozen dirty needles. It really is a horrific place in Glasgow. And thank Nicola Sturgeon for it, guys. Thank you, Nicola, for turning Glasgow into a drug-infested hellhole with migrants roaming riot, selling drugs on the street in broad daylight. It's not just drugs as well. It is hardcore. It's heroin. Govan Hill is in the centre region of Glasgow, an area with many Asian, Romanian and Bulgarian origin. It's been documented in the past of alleged child trafficking and prostitution. Therefore, and I was told they've got different, you know, a ribbon will be on the door for blue for a boy and pink for a girl and all this stuff. I mean, it's an industrial thing that's happening here. It's been documented in the past, alleged child trafficking and prostitution, that the authorities deny it's going on and seem to turn a blind eye to it all, even though many in the community say it's a common phenomenon, yet nobody reports it to the police for fear of retribution. Given that undercover videos and brave individuals tried to reveal the dark goings on, many have been silenced and threatened by their lives. Drugs are a big part of the culture, and the streets have a menacing and unsavoury feel as you walk amongst discarded needles, bins flung out the windows. When I walked, I felt like I was walking about a mattress warehouse. You know, you're walking about Govan Hill, and there's just discarded mattresses everywhere. We're talking Glasgow city centre, well, just 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away from Glasgow city centre, and there's just so many discarded mattresses. You're like, where am I? Am I in Glasgow or am I in Bangladesh here? What is going on? So drugs are a big part of the culture, and the streets are a menacing and unsavoury feel when you walk amongst discarded needles, bins fall out the window, you know, Gardyloo, poo out the window. Sturgeon herself admitted that she took her eye off the ball, which was a convenient way of ignoring the dreadful situation within her own government. She had a fair share of ministers who were caught grooming and guilty of sexual assault on men and were not sacked, but were instead reappointed and rewarded with new positions. May we ask why? Again, it's not just that they're covering it up. It's not just that they're ignoring it. It's not just that, you know, they're turning a blind eye. In fact, a lot of them, I believe, are in on it. We've got, remember Derek Mackay? You know, he's wanted to take young boys to the rugby. You know, he was slated to become the new leader of the SNP at one point. And what was he doing? He was grooming young teenage boys. Is he learning for the best? Is he, you know, is that the way they act in Hollywood? Is that the way they conduct themselves? Is he just thinking this is normal? The whistleblowers, who have included social workers and councils, legal figures, and a top KC, who all had their names blackened and careers destroyed in the pursuit of exposing and the exploitation of vulnerable youngsters. There was people in Edinburgh Council that ended up killing themselves. Whistleblowers that I believe the guy took a header off it after seat. This is not some kiddie play stuff. This is real people's lives here. Real people's lives getting ruined, destroyed, ended. We have victims of LGBT youth Scotland. Christ, I'm sad talking about it. You know, I'm sick talking about these guys who were betrayed by this organisation. Betrayed. An organisation whose founders linked to a paedophile network and working in Edinburgh City Council. And it wasn't just a paedophile network. It was the largest paedophile network that Scotland had ever encountered. And who was it? The guy, James Rennie, who was the CEO of LGBT Youth Scotland. You tell me that's a coincidence and I'll slap you. So we have victims of LGBT youth who were betrayed by an organisation's founders linked to a paedophile network and working in Edinburgh City Council, one of whom is currently serving a jail sentence for the rape of a child, but was in the Scottish Government circles advising on gay rights. Oh, don't you see? Grooming gangs, child trafficking, LGBT groups, LGBT youth groups, the ones promoting it. Just the other week, Ivor Kaplan, the guy trying to groom a 15-year-old boy. What was he doing? He was organising pride events. He was the Labour go-to for LGBT matters. Isn't it a coincidence, guys? Isn't it a coincidence? I don't think so. With allegations of abuse of youngsters at Celtic Football Club, one of Scotland's premier football clubs, where all the investigations were hushed. All of them were hushed up. And as a society, we owe it to young people to protect them from the evils of these predators and the vile child trafficking business, which is going on all around us. Many of these individuals are linked within our institutions, and it needs to be exposed, or the cover-ups will continue. The cycle of abuse will be never ending. It needs broken down and spotlights going on. Individuals lying to cover it up. The role of investigative work within the media is vital, and we must let the fear evaporate and root these cowards out of our society and stop the destruction of youth who get caught up in this, and protect the brave individuals who are trying to inform the people on what's happening right around our country and around the world. And this is the thing. When you go up against the paedophile rings, it's not like anything else. It is, you're going up against people who, if you expose them, their life is over. So they will do anything in their power to stop it. Anything, including, up to and including murder. Up to and including cold-blooded murder. Right. So that was that. I mean, and we're going to get darker again. We're going to get darker again. So Dave Sharp, and it's not just, I mean, it's not just child trafficking and child abuse, right? This is where we're getting the worst stuff. Dave Sharp confided in me and told me about some of the child abuse that was happening to him and to members of his organization and people that had spoken to over the years. And it's satanic ritual child abuse. This is where we're going. I mean, how long has this been in our society is the question. How long has this been in our society? Has it been there from the beginning? Is it rooted in Westminster? Is it rooted in our parliaments? Is this the mechanism of control that holds, is this the glue that holds our hamster wheel society together? Child trafficking and paedophilia. It'd be sad to think that. But if you don't follow Dave Sharp, just look him up on Twitter, Dave Sharp. He's got a lot to say about the abuse that's happening right across Scotland. And he was taken to large, huge Highland estates, and he was tied to gravestones, while people, and you know, warning, if you're of a sensitive disposition, please tune out now. But he was tied to gravestones and masturbated over in the satanic ritual abuse ceremony. I told you it was going to get dark. So Scotland has got incredible, deep-rooted problems with this, and it's our job to root them out, pull them up with the roots, put poor weed killer down, get a flamethrower, make sure none of these things come back. None of these things deserve a place in our society. None. But, you know, I always go back to thinking, how long has this been in our society? How long has this been permeating our culture? You know what I mean? The unseen. And it's all, I mean, the people that are doing this, they're all the richest people in society. And you know, it goes, we'll go back to Andrew Bridgen, you know the names. We might play the clip again. So now that you know all this, we'll play the clip again. And we'll give me a wee 2-minute break.
There's something wrong in our parliament when I'm attacking a Labour MP who I believe is a paedophile, and I'm getting flack from my own party. There's something wrong.
How many of the MPs would you say in Parliament do you think would be of that?
I've no idea. But we certainly had a bad record round here. I'm thinking about in Leicester. I mean, Jana. I mean, paedophilia it's been rampant in Leicester. I don't. We had the Lord Jana case. He had been the MP there. Remember?
Yes.
Greville Jana.
Yes.
Died mysteriously of dementia just before his hearing of facts.
And how many other people would there have been connected?
You know, I've passed details of people who are engaged in child trafficking into the UK. Names of all those. They've gone to the government. Nobody wants to act. Nobody wants to act about it.
How big is this?
It's big.
How many?
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
How are they getting them in? Or is that?
I don't. They're flying them into small airports that haven't got fences around them. Lots of them in the UK.
Yeah, lots of small airfields.
Yeah.
You have a little biplane.
I gave the government the names of the people and the name of the company they're laundering the money through, where the children were being taken to have their photographs taken. They thought they were going to go to school. These were for selling them to paedophiles. Nothing. No, it's gone to MI5. It's gone to the National Crime Agency. No one will act. And then when you see the names, you see why.
The names.
The names of the people. They are known names.
And so they're taking these children to who knows where, and they're doing who knows what to them.
Well, I'm told that they use them in the sex trade for about 3 years, and then they're worn out, and then they organ harvest them. No one's interested. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about lots of things.
Well, we are talking about it, and I wouldn't say interested. It needs to be eradicated. And we need people who will go after these with the full brutality that is required. The full brutality that's required. And I am one of these people. And we can go after them. And if I'm ever in Holyrood, I will go after them like there's nobody been after them before. I'll be after them like the hounds of hell are chasing them. It's so hard to talk about this without getting like extremely upset. You know, it's really upsetting. You know, but where does it lead us? You know, where does it lead us? Our society is crumbling away. You know, that we're such a low trust society. You know, there's people getting stabbed every other day in London. We'll have a clip for that. But then there was a person stabbed just on Portobello just the other week. And it's becoming an all too common occurrence that our society is it's getting fragmented, it's getting pushed further and further to the brink. And we'll go to maybe why that is later on. But let's look, there was a clip that went viral just the other day or so of Sadiq Khan. And listen to this, and listen to the response, and you tell me why nobody trusts politicians.
It's only just begun, and already we've seen at least 9 major stabbing incidents on our streets. On the 1st of January, 25-year-old man stabbed on Oxford Street. 5th of January, double stabbing on Kilburn High Road. 6th of January, 18-year-old man stabbed on Prince Imperial Road. 7th of January, we know the tragic murder of Kellyanne Bokassa, stabbed in broad daylight on a bus. Also, 7th of January, reports of stabbing in Mile End. 11th of January, stabbing and 2 shootings in Homerton. 13th of January, father of 2, Gregory Castillo Volquez, stabbed to death in Haringey. And on the 14th of January, stabbing outside City and Islington College and also on Ilford High Road. My team has been working on a budget amendment where we would like to fund almost 1,000 police officers to deliver a targeted knife crime task force. And the way we do this is reduce the cost of your staff budget back to 2016 levels. That would give us the funding to do this. Now, obviously, I can't table that as a budget amendment on my own. I need support from other groups. Would you encourage members of other groups, perhaps your own group in the Labour Party, perhaps the Conservatives, perhaps anybody, to second that amendment so that it can be discussed and debated in full next week at the budget meeting?
As a rule of thumb, I never encourage anyone to work with reform.
That's a clear no. So this is a really important issue, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the figures quoted in the police and crime plan show that 70% of Londoners rank tackling knife and gun crime as one of their top priorities for London. You talked about cross-party working. I think that's it's a question of priorities. You've shown what your priority is. I'm showing what my priority is. I really, really hope that other members present, perhaps will have a more constructive conversation with me. Thank you.
So, in response to all of this, in response to all this failing, all this murder and on the streets of his capital, Sadiq Khan. All he wants to do is play politics. He just wants to play politics and point the finger at reform. And it just, what an advertisement that is for reform. Because it just, and what a horrendous, disgusting individual Sadiq Khan is, honestly. What a horrendous, disgusting piece of feces Sadiq Khan is. Absolutely vile human being. I mean, you think Scotland's maybe not that bad, but let me bring up a crime that will haunt you. Let's share this tab. Let's get this up. And again, warning. This people of a sensitive disposition may want to tune out now. So, Niddrie, no, the best place in Edinburgh. I would say it was actually one of the worst places in Edinburgh. But maybe it was a year ago, there was these rumours circulating in Edinburgh in the WhatsApp groups. And they were saying there's been a horrendous crime happen. And people were saying that the police officers that were dealing with the crime were outside, puking up, spewing their load after having seen what they had seen. And when I described to you what happened, and when you look at the sentencing, and when you look at what actually happened, you wouldn't blame them. You wouldn't blame them at all. So let's get to the nitty gritty. HMA versus Ian John McLeod and Dean Ian McLeod. High Court in Edinburgh, Lord Arthurson sentenced Ian McLeod and Dean Ian McLeod to life imprisonment with a punishment part of 34 years after they both pled guilty to 2 murders. And there you go. There you go. Please be aware. The statement contains extremely graphic description of the offences, which may be distressing to read. I'll read through them for you. But honestly, if you are of a sensitive disposition, this is the time to tune out now. The cowardly actions of monsters. These are the words that one of the bereaved members of family members in this case. You have committed crimes which can be summarised as an evil and premeditated killing spree, laced with sadism and quite extreme instrumental violence, in the course of which the 2 of you killed and killed again, apparently simply out of bloodlust. Each of you has this morning, at a further continuing preliminary hearing, tendered the pleas of guilty to the murders of 2 men at a flat in Greendykes House, Greendykes Road, Edinburgh, between the dates of 30th October and the 1st of November 22. You carried out a concerted and wholly murderous attack on your victims using hammers, machetes, a Stanley knife and a blowtorch. The level of force used by you was such that a hammer was left embedded in the head of one of your victims. The extreme nature of your criminal conduct was such that you severed part of your victims' noses, and apparently they had severed parts of these people that they had murdered in their pockets. In their pockets. The extreme nature of your criminal conduct was such that you severed part of your victim's noses, an upper lip and ears, and forced a metal nail into the orbit of the eyes of one of your victims. Fucking hell. Forced a metal nail into the orbit of the eyes of one of their victims, to the extent that these nails passed into the skull vault next to the brain. You also burned lettering with a blowtorch into the forehead and chest, respectively, of your victims. Your victims were Mr. Derek Johnson, aged 37, and Mr. Desmond Rowlands, aged 66. So you're talking an old guy here, an old guy getting tortured and murdered. Mr. Johnson was a loving son and brother, a good neighbour and a friend who had been described as caring and compassionate and who loved nature and animals. Mr. Rowling was a loving father, a partner, a hard-working man who had lived with significant back pain. Both individuals were with some vulnerabilities. The dreadful narrative of events has just been read by the Crown. I do not propose to rehearse the full terms of that. Let me see if there's more. Well, we'll just read it. Each of your victims was invited in turn by you to the locus where each was in due course murdered by you. You left a handwritten note in the hallway of the flat stating very accurate as it happens that what we'd done was evil and sadistic, and expressing in terms what appears to be the regret that you had not targeted more victims. In a pouch in your belongings, the police found a piece of Mr. Johnson's ear, a piece of Mr. Johnson's flesh, a piece of Mr. Rowling's nose, and a piece of Mr. Rowling's flesh. I told you, these were the rumours that were going about. And a few years ago, these were the rumours that were going about. And everyone was told, do not share these unfounded rumours. They're BS. And yet here we are reading about it 2 years later, and it happened. The survival time of your victims has been assessed as being at least a few hours between the infliction of at least some of the head injuries and death in the case of Mr. Johnson, and at least a few hours between the infliction of blunt force injury to the brain and death in the case of Mr. Rowlands. So they suffered for hours. Whether Ira was conscious during these times period appears to be unknown. No evidence was found that the blowtorch burn injuries occurred during life. In respect of Mr. Johnson, the hammer was embedded in the skull and the nails were driven into the eyes after death. And the tip of his nose and left ear were removed after death. Pathological examination. Imagine having to be the pathologist that's doing this. This is life ruining stuff. Just for everyone involved, for the police, for the pathologist, for the judge, for these two victims. So sorry for these victims having to endure such a thing. Where were we? Nails were driven into the eyes after death, and the tip of the nose and the left ear were removed after death. Pathological examination was unable to provide a timescale in respect to Mr. Rowling's injuries. Mr. Johnson was found to have at least 28 separate injuries to the head, neck, and upper and lower limbs. Mr. Rowland was found to have 136 distinct injuries to the head, neck, front and back, torso, and upper and lower limbs. Several of these comprised of injuries, however. So the total number of injuries sustained by him will in fact have been considerably greater. Blood and hair from one of your victims was found on footwear worn by you in the kitchen. The charnel house nature of the locus was such that walls and even the ceiling were extensively and heavily blood-stained. Ian John McLeod, you are now 66 years old. You have a criminal record which discloses 3 prior custodial disposals. Only one is of any note, namely a conviction in the High Court in 2009 for the crime of assault to severe injury, permanent disfigurement and danger to life, in respect in which you raised 6 years with 2-year extension. So the guy got a previous crime, 6 years, he's out, and then he does this. Dean Ian McLeod, you're now aged 42. You have served 7 prior custodial sentences. 7. And yet he's out and he can do this. All but one of your previous convictions has been at summary level. Some of your offending has related to weapons, namely a knife and a hammer. In the hammer matter, your case proceeded on a sheriff and jury indictment. I've listened to your particular case, advancing mitigation on behalf of each of you. A respective senior counsel proposed to take all the points made by them in determining the final disposable indictment. In particular, I know Ian John McLeod, the lengthy gaps of your offending period, your ongoing history of significant ill health, including progressive Parkinson's disease, and what has been submitted regarding the utility of your police today, blah, blah, blah. The sentence for your crime of the murders is fixed by law and is one of imprisonment for life. I don't think it has more about the actual crime itself. We're not going to bother reading the rest of it, but you get the picture. And what a disgusting picture it is. And the rumours were, at the time, that police had went in to investigate, and they'd come right back out and they were puking up. They couldn't believe what they'd been seen. They couldn't take what had happened, and they were sick to their stomachs and they puked. Blood over the walls and ceiling, extensive blood over the walls, over the ceiling, 2 cadavers with nails in their eyes, 136 injuries. It does stay bear thinking about. So, I mean, this is Edinburgh for you guys. This is Edinburgh for you. Why is this not on the news? Why didn't, where's this? They didn't want to talk about how heinous this is. They didn't want to talk about how vile this is. They don't want to talk about how this guy had 7 previous convictions. He was in and out. And yet they can do this. So I did warn you that it was extreme. I did warn you it was graphic. But even upon reading that, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Crikey. Crikey indeed. Let's come back for a second. So that's Scotland. We did have one incident that it's not nearly as severe, but I've got the video. And, it was posted today on Twitter, and I reached out to the guy. He's upset about the factory farming here in Scotland, the salmon fishing here in Scotland. It's just become such a joke that there's diseased fish everywhere. And if you're listening to this and you live in Scotland and you eat fish, I suggest you go to a harbour to buy your fish first and only. I wouldn't be buying it in packets because it could well be disease. But listen to this and watch this. Crazy wee scene happen outside a loch.
You should be doing, Paul, is not introducing diseased fish into this loch. I fished this loch for 50 years, and in 50 years I've never seen a manky fish. All of a sudden, in the last 2 years, this fish farm, Kames Fish Farm, has brought nothing but diseased fish. What are you treating the fish for, Paul? Paul, what are you treating the fish for? It's a simple question. What are you treating the fish for, Paul? Phone the police? Yes! Phone the police. This fella here is going to phone the police. I'm a resident at Loch Chapel. Fucking phone off me, you cunt! I will fucking knock the fuck out of you! You fucking film me again! I will fuck you up, you cunt! Just fuck off! Fuck off! Get to fuck! You fucking arsehole! Fuck off! My wife's filming this! Fucking knock you the fuck out, you cunt! Fuck off!
Jesus. That escalated quickly. So you'd think that the fishing industry, the desolation of the fishing industry, would be right on the forefront of our so-called environmental greens. Where are they in all this? Oh, they don't give a flying monkeys about the state of your fish in Scotland. They don't give a monkeys. So the guy that filmed that clip, the guy that put it up rather, he has agreed to come on the show on Monday. So Monday night's show will have this gentleman on. And we're going to talk about the state of the salmon industry here in Scotland. And we'll get the full story of this clip as well. So tune in on Monday for that one. But that sort of ends the Scottish segments. And we're ran way over time, guys. We're just going to go until we've said everything we want to say. But now we're moving on to segment number 3, the last segment of the day. And we're at 400 viewers. Thank you for joining us, guys. If you're just joining us, you've missed a whole heck of a lot. You've missed full-on John. You've missed Banana and Nutella John trying to discard his nickname. You've missed that whole shebang. You've missed Andrew Bridgen just dropping bombshell after bombshell. And now you won't be missing this bit, but this one I call a brief stopover at Auschwitz. So why is it that all the worst politicians in the world end up having photo ops in Auschwitz? Why is it that all the worst politicians in the world do these weird photo ops at Auschwitz. You know, Nicola Sturgeon there looking resplendent. The newly single and ready to mingle Sturgeon visiting Auschwitz for a photo op. And of course, she's got a professional photographer there in tow. Like, get a picture of me on the railway tracks. Get a picture of me at the... What is going on, guys? Get a picture of me on the railway tracks. Get a picture of me outside the gate. Get a picture of me and my wife laying a reef. Get a picture of me and my wife at the gate. Keir Starmer, en route back for the Ukraine. On the way back, who could resist a brief stopover at Auschwitz? How could you resist that? You know, the wife's tugging you at the arm. The wife's tugging your arm. Come on, come on, come on. Let's go to Auschwitz. What a joke. And this only, it won't just be Sturgeon and Starmer. I'm sure other European leaders have done this a bit. I bet if I was to look up Macron at Auschwitz, I guarantee you he'll have been there. I've seen it. Nah, I'm sure he's been there. I'm sure he's been there. Anyway, what we wanted to talk about, you know, on the way back from the Ukraine, Keir Starmer just goes and visits the Ukraine, and Zelensky says to him, well, you know, Keir Starmer's, you know, what's the situation? How many people have you lost? Well, we've lost 63,584 non-combatant confirmed names. We've had 43,000 killed. We've had 370,000 wounded. We've got 60,000 people missing. We've got 8,000 captures. The Russians have lost 700,000 people killed and wounded. 800,000 killed and wounded, 198,000 killed, 550,000 people wounded. You know, and Keir Starmer just says, keep fighting. Keep fighting. He says, I've signed you up for another 100 years of this. And by the way, see you later. Me and the wife is going to stop by Auschwitz. Do you just see how disgusting this whole thing is? Our society is hanging by a thread. Hanging by a thread. And Keir Starmer wants to go across to Ukraine. He says to Zelensky, how many people have you lost? We just went through the numbers there. 60,000 people missing. You know, 370,000 wounded. Keep fighting. Keep fighting, says Keir Starmer. No, this is a next level of sadism. It really is. And, you know, let's share this one. Let's read this one. What has the UK promised Ukraine in Starmer's 100-year deal? Starmer wants a 100-year war. What's this guy on? UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer signed a 100-year partnership agreement with the Ukraine to provide support across various sectors: healthcare, military technology, pledging to provide security guarantees if an end to Russia's war comes. Starmer's visit to Kiev since becoming Prime Minister, the British leader told a news conference on Thursday that the UK would examine practical ways to get a just and lasting peace that guarantees your security, independence, and your right to your own future. In the meantime, keep fighting. Keep fighting. What's it given us? Since Russia's war in the Ukraine started in February 22, the UK has provided Kiev with £12.8 billion in financial aid and £7.8 billion in military aid. According to the German think tank, the Kiel Institute, as of December 24, the UK is the third highest aid donor to Ukraine after Germany, which was the second highest, and the United States, which is currently Ukraine's biggest supporter. Is it, you see, was it the Ukraine that have these Azov battalions that were going around with Nazi stuff? Nazi iconography? Wasn't it the Azov battalion? And why is it that Keir Starmer decides to visit why is it Keir Starmer decides to visit Auschwitz after meeting with the Azov battalion? Why is it? Why is it? A brief stopover in Auschwitz on the way back for telling people to keep dying. Anyway, guys, I believe that is the end of the show. I believe it is. There is one clip that I forgot to play, but now it doesn't fit in anywhere. We might, in fact, we're going to do it anyway. Full-blown John. Full-blown John. He's gone, I used to have a wee bit John, but now he's full-blown. Do
you not accept that you'll have failed as First Minister, particularly if you're in office until 2031, like you hope, if those legally binding targets are missed?
Well, let me have a good go at it, Connor. And, you've got full-on John Swinney just now, and I'm going to do...
Is this what full-on John Swinney
This is what, believe you me, this is full-on John Swinney. And, frankly, like John Swinney's never been before. So it is full-on.
Full-on. It's absolutely full-on. And I wonder... Now that I've played that clip, I can play this clip. This is full-on John Swinney when he's asked about genders. Full-on John Swinney.
First Minister, how many genders are there?
Well, I think there'll be quite a debate about that, Nicky.
Quite a debate about that. Well, I think just watching that gave me full-blown John. Right, folks, it's been a spirited night. I've went 20 minutes over time. I mean, we've not got a specific time schedule. We've got the stories, depending on what happens that day. That depending on how I feel, we just go on for as long as necessary. And we ended up almost at 500 viewers, guys. We've got YouTube back tonight, so you can watch it back on YouTube if you so desire. We're going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live 9 p.m. weekly, all the way to the 2026 Scottish election. We have an interview on the Monday with this man. We'll play the clip just one more time before we go. We've got an interview on Monday with the guy who put this out.
What should be doing, Paul, is not introducing diseased fish into this law. I fished this log for 50 years, and in 50 years I've never seen a manky fish. All of a sudden, in the last 2 years, this fish farm, Kames Fish Farm, has brought nothing but diseased fish. What are you treating the fish for, Paul? Paul, what are you treating the fish for? It's a simple question. What are you treating the fish for, Paul? Phone the police? Yes! Phone the police. This fella here is going to phone the police. I'm a resident at Loch Chapel. Fucking phone off me, you cunt! I will fucking knock the fuck out of you! You fucking film me again! I will fuck you up, you cunt! Just fuck off! Get the fuck! You fucking arsehole! Fuck off! My wife's filming this! Fucking knock you the fuck out, you cunt! Fuck off!
So I dare say I look forward to interviewing the person who put that out. So that's Monday's show for you coming up. Right, guys, we didn't quite get the 500 viewers live. We didn't quite get it. Maybe it'll creep above that on the Monday. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, everyone. I hope you're all in good spirits, and God bless you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in to the Niall Fraser Show. You can see it behind me there, that one, the Niall Fraser Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please do subscribe to my YouTube. The YouTube is, let me see. Well, I've got it on a banner. I've not got it on a thing. At the Niall Fraser Show on YouTube. If you so desire, you can, you can donate to me direct at the coffee. If you want to keep me in caffeine, if you want to keep the beans rolling, do send us a couple pound on the coffee. Every little helps. We're like Tesco here. Every single penny helps, and I respond to everyone who donates in that fashion because it is very much appreciated. Right, guys, it's now to that point where the best part of the show is the outro credits. So thanks again for tuning in to the Niall Fraser Show. God bless you all and have a fantastic weekend.